Hey ladies and gentlemen and folks, Chris of the Polish Geek welcomes you to another opinion piece video related to Pirates of the Caribbean. Like you probably know, I'm a huge fan of Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Like only a month ago I did a ranking of all those 5 movies with At World's End being my number 1, and I gotta say also that this opinion piece video will be on the Flying Dutchman Crewmen, and we'll get to it soon, although the headline already says what it will be about. But the first thing I gotta say is that I think that Davy Jones and his crew of the Flying Dutchman are still by far the greatest CGI ever made. Like, they look so unique and so natural and realistic and so much better in every way than any modern CGI. And Davy Jones is by far one of my favorite villains of all time. And my subject will be that I do believe that several of the Flying Dutchman crewmen have indeed died when they fell into Maelstrom. Especially that this is the subject that actually has been debated by Pirates of the Caribbean fans, especially back in the day when At World's End was a fresh movie. Nowadays, these movies are very underrated and fell out of popularity, so it's not really that much discussed, sadly, nowadays. But trust me, back in the day, like when At World's End was a fresh movie, there was very much speculation whether the Flying Dutchman crewmen have died when they fell in the Maelstrom or not, because and the Pirates of the Caribbean wiki now seems to basically be an accepted consensus that they have in fact survived. But I strongly disagree with that, and I'm gonna explain why in this video. I believe that indeed the Flying Dutchman crewmen that fell into the Maelstrom in the final battle are indeed dead. And yeah, I know, it's probably a pretty weird subject and not the type of subject anyone would ever expect to be discussed, but that's what this channel is for, right? You gotta discuss what's on your mind, right? We all know that members of the crew of the Flying Dutchman are pirates, sailors, all who sold their souls to Davy Jones in exchange of their service to him. And as long as they are bound to the Dutchman, they are immortal. And then you can like stab them plenty of times, you can do anything, but there is just no way they can ever be killed. And that's why it's actually been debated among fans if are they actually dead when they are falling into the Maelstrom, into the whirpool of the Maelstrom. And my sense on that is that yes, I think that these guys are indeed dead, which would include, of course, Clanker,
Boy, not a pistol.
Headdress, several unnamed crewmen, as well as Mori. I mean, his head was cut off by Barbossa, but because he's gone right afterwards, we can infer that Barbossa then pushed him without his head into the Maelstrom. Like, there is no way I think that you can actually survive falling into that whirlpool. Like, I'm convinced again that this guy who got shot by Marty while swinging, and Mori who got decapitated by Barbossa and then likely threw into the Maelstrom, and then Clanker who got pushed off the rope by Jack Sparrow, and then Headdress got his head pulled inside the torso, nice reference to that man's chest, and then fell into the Maelstrom. Makus, on the other hand, did not, because if you look carefully you can see that he's actually falling below the deck. So yes, I do believe that these guys who actually fell into the Maelstrom ended up dead. Falling into the whirlpool is basically falling into the Davy Jones locker, or maybe into pits of hell itself, who knows. But most importantly, you gotta look that none of those guys were actually seen while Will Turner is being made a new captain after Davy Jones is killed. You can see Kolenico, for example, and you can see Jimmy Legs. He's the one holding the chest for a new heart, actually. Palifico is there as well, as are almost all the others, but specifically, those who fell into the Maelstrom are actually not shown, and they are pretty much in every other appearance, which makes me actually love those movies even more, actually. That's one of my favorite things about those movies. That's a very nice attention to detail, like here, like you can see specifically those that fell in the Maelstrom, are not shown when Will Turner is being made a new captain. And we'll actually talk about it more someday. I mean, while of those movies, when I give those movies a very in-depth review. But returning to Flying Dutchman crew, I've seen some people arguing, especially on Pirates of the Caribbean wiki actually, that when Flying Dutchman crew members become human, that's when actors are shown. But honestly, I don't think they necessarily playing the same people anymore. Like the guy standing next to Bootstrap Bill is very clearly Andy Beckwith, the guy who plays Clanker. But honestly, I actually think, actual appearance-wise, he's far closer to Kolenico than to Clanker with his outfit, and he doesn't even have his hat on. On the other hand, actor who plays Kolenico is technically this guy, but that's clearly not Kolenico. Kolenico never wore a hat like that. I always felt that this guy was Crash, and I stand by that. Crash is the only one with the same hat, and just earlier you can even see Crash's swordfish sword falling while that crew members turn human. But that said, Makes, on the other hand, is indeed played by the same actor both times. He clearly even has his axe in his human appearance, and same with Palifico, who's played by a black man, and his deep voice and accent was clearly that of a black guy. But I don't think actors at this point are necessarily meant to play the same guys. They look completely different as humans, which is so amazing about that CGI. They all look so convincing. Again, these days CGI is absolute trash, and it's so impressive how CGI back in 2007 looks so much better in every way. And I call it. This guy right here, on the other hand, is Quittens. So, yes, ultimately, my opinion is that the crew members of the Flying Dutchman that fell in the Maelstrom are indeed dead. Again, there's just no way you can survive falling into that whirpool. Again, it's basically like an endless pit of falling down into the pit of hell itself. So there is no way that these guys survived. And basically, even if they did survive at the very bottom, I guess, then Davy Jones died soon after. So we can likely infer that once Davy Jones died, they probably turned human at the very bottom, and then they died as humans. But either way, that's at least my call. I say Maury, Clanker, Headdress, as well as several others are dead. That's just my opinion. Do you agree with my opinion? Do you disagree? Well, let me know. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out this opinion piece. Press the like button. Please subscribe to this channel. And remember, there will be more Pirates of the Caribbean videos in the future. Again, I'm a huge fan of that franchise. I'm planning to give it a very in-depth review, kind of like I gave The Lord of the Rings like a month ago only. But, again, thank you for checking out this video. Comment in the comments on your opinion on the subject. And please subscribe to this channel. And talk to you soon. Bye.